This content could be distressing, so viewer discretion is advised. Bridges are built to make travel easier all across the world. Some are architectural mammoths that leave you awestruck when you see them. There is one bridge, though, that has a consistent pattern of destruction. Not long after its initial construction, accidents began happening around this bridge, and people began losing their lives. The tragedies grew in severity until several people were losing their lives on this bridge every single month, consistently for years. On the early morning of May 9th, 1980, drivers navigating the Sunshine Skyway Bridge in Florida found their view of Tampa Bay obscured by a thick fog and rain. Although the visibility had slightly improved as the morning progressed, it remained thick enough to conceal a crucial and distressing fact from the drivers. Mere minutes before, at 7:33 a.m., the bridge had been entangled in a catastrophic accident. Instead of encountering the solid steel structure they thought they would be driving on, drivers were met with a void as the totality of steel and pavement had fallen into the ocean 150 feet below. Stay tuned to hear the rest of this incredible and sad story. Hi, I'm Hallow. Welcome to Freaky What. I love telling stories about mysteries, crime, paranormal, and anything else I think is freaky. I really appreciate you watching, and if you enjoy this channel, I hope you'll subscribe and watch my other stories. Now, let's get to it. On May 19th, 1971, Florida Governor Reuben Askew and the mayor of Bradenton, Florida, B.T. Arbuckle, stood before a crowd and spoke a few words about how much this beautiful new bridge meant for the future of Florida. On this day, we witness not just the birth of a bridge, but the dawn of a new era. Governor Askew's voice carried with conviction, his eyes reflecting the hope and promise this grand structure held for the Sunshine State. The crowd erupted into applause. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge, stretching proudly across the expanse of Tampa Bay, seemed to bask in the collective optimism of those who had worked tirelessly to bring it to life. On this wonderful day, the future was looking bright. The original idea for this bridge traced back to the early 20th century when St. Petersburg, Florida, was a city on an island considered a sleepy fishing community. Residents seeking passage across the bay faced lengthy drives or relied on ferry services to complete their journeys. In 1929, the Florida legislature granted the B Line Ferry a 50-year franchise covering a 7-mile wide strip across the bay. The St. Petersburg Port Authority bought the franchise from the ferry in 1944 to build a bridge across the bay. The original bridge concept surfaced in 1926, but action was delayed due to the Great Depression and World War II. Not until 1954 did the bridge, constructed by the firm Parsons, Brinkerhoff, Hogan, and McDonald, become a reality, bearing the title from a competition among state residents. The B Line ferry finally ceased operations when the first Skyway bridge opened in 1954. This engineering marvel, albeit relatively narrow, boasted the title of the longest bridge on Earth at the time, featuring a main span stretching 6.7 kilometers or 4.14 miles. With its steel cantilever design and a two-lane roadway resting on concrete columns anchored into the bay's floor, the Sunshine Skyway soared above the water, allowing vessels to pass beneath its towering structure. Popular demand prompted the addition of a second span in 1971, mirroring the original design to alleviate traffic congestion and provide separate routes for traffic in each direction. After the dedication of the bridge's second span in 1971, all was going well for a while. The second span brought the bridge up to interstate highway standards and allowed traffic to flow freely without congestion. The bridge was doing its job wonderfully. A few small boats had scraped and bumped the pilings with no issues. Some of the boats were damaged, but the bridge stood strong. However, one day, everything changed. At 6:30 a.m. on May 9th, 1980, experienced 37-year-old harbor pilot John Laro, who was near the top of his profession, boarded the MV Summit Venture, a 609-foot-long bulk phosphate transport barge, tasked with safely guiding it out of the harbor. Typically, large ships like the Summit Venture hired knowledgeable local pilots for harbor navigation. Laro knew Tampa Bay well and had maneuvered it many times before. Bruce Atkins was 32 years old, an experienced mariner, and an apprentice harbor pilot in Tampa Bay. It was his last training mission, and he shadowed Captain John Laro. Navigating through patchy rain and fog, Laro monitored weather updates. He was constantly aware of what was happening. As the Summit Venture approached the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, a sudden freak storm with gale force winds came out of nowhere. It became a blinding, driving rain and wind, Atkins recalled. These conditions immediately brought visibility to zero as Laro approached a 13-degree turn to port to go under the opening of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. Atkins looked down at the radar to report back to Laro, but it showed nothing. They were completely blind and enveloped in a wall of rain and fog. Most importantly, they'd lost radio contact with an oil tanker that was headed directly towards them in the opposite direction. Dropping anchor at that point would have put them directly in the tanker's path, so they thought. Atkins recounts, "The only prudent decision was We knew where the buoy was. We thought we were in the channel. It was to make the turn as you normally would on normal days and continue on the course under the bridge. Lero immediately ordered lookouts to the ship's front, but the weather was severe. Off course and caught amidst the chaos, the freighter veered towards a concrete support, unbeknownst to Lero, until the bridge appeared just through the fog, a ship's length away. Efforts to evade the collision were futile. At 7:33 a.m., the freighter struck a support pier, resulting in a catastrophic collapse of the southbound roadway, taking with it numerous vehicles into the water below. Lero immediately jumped on the radio.
Calling Mayday, vessel in distress. This is United States Coast Guard, St. Petersburg, Florida. Request your position, the nature of distress, and number of persons on board. Over.
This is Brent. All the emergency equipment out to the Skyway Bridge. Vessel 26 Skyway Bridge. The Skyway Bridge is down. Get all emergency equipment out to the Skyway Bridge. The Skyway Bridge is down. There's a Mayday. Emergency situation. Stop the traffic on that Skyway Bridge.
Though there was a desperate attempt to halt traffic, vehicles on the bridge continued their journey southward, unaware of the impending disaster ahead. Wesley McIntyre was driving his Ford Courier pickup, headed for his job. He had just thrown his quarters into the toll booth at the beginning of the bridge and began driving. Wesley says the rain turned from downpour into cyclonic almost immediately. As I went way up to the top of the bridge, the pickup started to bob up and down. At the time, I thought it was just the wind blowing up through the bridge, and at this point, I looked, and there I seen the ship, and I knew what had happened. Suddenly, all McIntyre saw was the black broadside of a massive ship, the words Summit Venture painted in white letters along its bow. I hit my brakes, but I guess the truck wasn't even on the bridge anymore. I was in the air, probably, and the only thing I remember is saying, "Oh God," and I felt a thud. It bounced off the ship or something. After that, I just remember sinking into the water. McIntyre, now 56 years old, had been trained as a swimmer in the Navy, and because of this, he was able to escape drowning by only seconds. Richard Hornbuckle was driving as he barely saw the void in front of him. Luckily, he slammed his brakes and stopped just feet from the edge. Unfortunately, not everyone shared their same luck. A Greyhound bus carrying 25 students from Alabama's Tuskegee University was headed home. The bus happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and was on the very section of roadway that plunged into the stormy water that day. Several other vehicles with drivers met the same fate. Out of the 35 individuals who plummeted into the water, only one, Wesley McIntyre, managed to escape from his vehicle. Everyone else lost their lives. The tragic loss of lives marked a devastating and unforgettable tragedy. The aftermath triggered inquiries critiquing Lero's decision amid adverse weather conditions. While he was cleared of negligence, the incident prompted improvements to the bridge's design and safety measures. Talks of plans to build a new replacement bridge began circulating almost immediately. 7 years after the disaster, the new Sunshine Skyway Bridge was opened and featured concrete fenders around supports and an advanced warning system to avert hazardous conditions. A memorial was also included to pay homage to the 35 lives lost in the tragic collapse. But was the destruction and loss of lives over? In the wake of its construction, the beautiful new bridge became more than just a means of traversing Tampa Bay. It became a sight that attracted an unnerving frequency of fatalities. As vehicles drove across its expanse, regular accidents began to claim lives in startling numbers, grimly contrasting the bridge's initial promise of safety and connectivity. Moreover, a darker trend emerged, one that echoed the haunting history of its predecessor. People that no longer wanted to live began using the bridge as their way out, a tragic echo of the past that seemed inexplicably drawn to this new towering structure. As the news stories were published every week, statistics painted a chilling reality. At least one life was lost per month from jumping off of the bridge, with almost 36 people per year attempting to end things there. A staggering toll that sent shockwaves through the community. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge meant to usher in a new era of progress and optimism, instead found itself entangled in a cycle of tragedy. Each loss was more than a statistic. It was a heart-wrenching story, a life cut short, leaving families shattered and communities mourning. Kevin Van Ostenbridge talks about his aunt, Susan, as always being the life and smiling at every family gathering. But everything changed one night in July 2018. Ostenbridge says, "My family woke up to calls in the middle of the night. It was Florida Highway Patrol calling my cousins to, unfortunately, tell them that my aunt's car was found on the top of the Skyway Bridge. We're all born and raised here, and we know what that means." In the following days, his family got together, mourned, and waited until her body was found in the waters of South Tampa Bay. Sadly, this is a phone call that more than 316 families have received over the years. At the publishing of this video, in the last 3 years, only 4 people have ended their lives by jumping, with several more failed attempts and a few saves. The efforts of everyone to instill a fence, provide 24-hour monitoring, assign a highway patrol officer to the bridge at all times, and install crisis center call boxes on the bridge have proven successful in saving lives. Still, at 5.5 miles long, with more than 50,000 vehicles crossing every day, this bridge is one of the country's deadliest. As time passes, we can only hope that the bridge of death will take fewer lives and remain a safe travel passage for all those who cross.